Okay, today I'm working on the electric solenoid that goes on the gas tank opener. And you can see I took this out. This comes out of this, and there's a clip on the end of it. But more importantly, I'm replacing the wires here. You can see they're old and aged. To get to the wires, they're tucked down in these holes. You just pull them out. But you have to remove, before you pull them out, there's this Bakelite piece on there. And you can get under that. It's got a crack in it where it slips around. You can take a clip and get that out, and then there's just a piece of tape around it. So I'll probably reuse that tape with a little new varnish. But my soldering gun's heating up, and I'm going to take those loose, and then I'm going to put new wires on them. And I did have to cut the bullets off of these because where they go through both wires go through these little holes here. You'll have to shove the new wires through them, then solder the ends on them because the bullets will not fit through there, no matter how hard you try. Okay, I desoldered those old ones and pulled them off there. My soldering iron finally got hot. The positive black, or negative black, I took the little wire coming out, and I don't know if you can see that, but I twisted it around there a couple of times. But you got to keep it real thin and flat because it's got to fit back in that groove when you put it back in that groove. So I'm going to just take a little solder here and get the solder on there. Made a good solid connection there all the way around. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, then we'll insert it back through the holes and put the bullets on. Okay, now that I've got those both soldered on there, I'm going to go ahead, and you have to work these down in there in that slot, and they come out. There's a slot in the opening here, so you work them around there, and they go in there pretty tight, and I find it's kind of nice to get a screwdriver or a flat edge and work those down there. That way they'll come out, and they will come out in those two holes right there. So anyway, we'll feed them on through there, and then we can put the bullets on the other end. Okay, just like that. Okay, so that's how they go through there, and that's how that goes on there. Okay, now that I got that on there and the wires pulled through, the reason I did not put these little covers back on there yet is you got to pull these black wires and stuff so they land correctly, and that one goes through the slot. And then I'm going to put this little Bakelite carefully back on here. Get it started there. Somebody just came to the door. I'm going to have to take a break here and see what's going on with that. But I'm right in the middle of my sensitive Bakelite operation. This stuff's real fragile, so see, it goes on around there and seals that off. And if you don't get the wires in all the way, that won't go around there properly. And then I'm going to get a little liquid tape and go over this just to seal everything. I like a good coat of liquid tape. Can't be a lot of it, and you can't be real sloppy because it's got to fit inside that bore. And that bore is rather tight. Okay. Okay, you can see here I got my simple liquid tape there, and I went over that and just basically put a thin coat to help hold that old coating on there. Where the wire went through the gap, I definitely made sure I got it covered real well so it wouldn't short coming through that notch, and got a little extra on there. You don't want it sticking out a lot because that has to go on there, and like I said before, it's tight. So I'm going to set that down, probably set it in a vise and let that dry. This thing got the wire suit and all that. You can see I got all the coating on there. I went ahead and got a brush, and I got some of this SIG 3000 grease, and I greased this up real good. I greased up in the spring, and after I pull that magnet back down and get that back in there like it's supposed to go, I'm going to take and, boy, that's icky stuff. Right here, there's two bushings front and back on this inside the casing for it. And so I'm going to go ahead and put some grease around the ends of it, just a little bit, to keep things nice and lubed so they won't rust again. Oh, by the way, inside here, I cleaned that bushing out real good, and I used a wire brush, and for the smaller holes I used a smaller wire brush, but I cleaned all the bushings out where this rides in there. And if I can get that started back in there, that goes in there pretty much like that. Snaps on down, and we'll put the snap ring in there, and that will be complete and ready to go. And of course that did shove a little grease out the end, as they always do. And then I'll go ahead and hook it up and make sure that it pops in and out with my battery charger. Okay, I got that ring started. I'm just using a pair of needle nose to compress it, and I'm going to snap it on down in there, and you can see it pop down in that slot real nice. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to take, I've already stripped one of these, and I strip them about 3/8 of an inch, and I use a wire stripper. And I compress it a couple of times while twisting it around the wire, and then I give it just a couple of just gentle twists. I'm not really squeezing it together, and I make sure I cut through that fiber, because see, if you don't cut through all the here we go, it won't come off. You might get a few strings off or whatever. I usually trim them up with a pair of clippers there, and I roll the cloth back up and twist it, and then I insert the bullet. And if you cut them a little long, you can trim the end of the copper. You can see you want to push them until the copper just comes out the end, and we'll get those soldered on there, and then we'll heat shrink some wrap on there. Yeah, one of the last things I'm going to do is heat shrink, well, put a piece of heat shrink on here. I'm going to go ahead and shrink it. Hope you can hear me over this. I'm going to shrink a little bit, then I'm going to stick it right down there on the end. Rotate it around there a little bit, and you can push it around while it's still hot. Okay, you can see I heat shrink that right down there, and that's pretty much the assembly of that. This will go on when I put it on the car, and there's some 3BA bolts that go in there, and it'll go through the metal on the fender and then bolt in through the trunk. So there you go.